The alien empire had long reigned as the undisputed power in the galaxy. Their fleets, vast and bristling with advanced technology, had crushed countless adversaries over the centuries. They had mastered space warfare to such an extent that no other species dared to challenge them. Their dominance was absolute, and they were confident that it would remain so. To them, other species were little more than nuisances, incapable of posing any real threat to their supremacy. The humans, a relatively young and insignificant species, were just another blip on the radar, a minor curiosity that didn't warrant serious consideration. Reports began to filter in from the far reaches of the galaxy, rumors whispered by lesser races. They spoke of human ships that were special, ships that defied conventional understanding of space combat. But the alien leaders dismissed these warnings with a wave of their hands. They had heard such tales before, always from species desperate to undermine the Empire's confidence. What could the humans possibly have that would make their ships any different from the countless others that had fallen before the Empire's might? The notion was laughable. The idea that a species so young, so technologically inferior, could pose any challenge was beyond belief. The alien commanders gathered to discuss the latest intelligence reports, but the atmosphere was one of amusement rather than concern. They joked about the human so-called special ships, mocking the idea that this upstart race could have developed anything of significance. The warnings were dismissed as nothing more than desperate exaggerations. After all, the Empire had faced and defeated far more advanced civilizations than the humans. This would be no different. The decision was made to engage the human fleet that had been detected on the fringes of their territory. The alien leaders saw it as an opportunity to remind the galaxy of their unassailable power. They prepared their fleet with the same confidence that had carried them through countless victories. The orders were given, and the ships began to mobilize. The alien commanders were certain that this would be a swift and decisive victory. They envisioned the human ships crumbling before their superior firepower, their crews panicking as the might of the Empire bore down on them. The battle would be over before it even began, and the humans would learn the hard way not to challenge the Empire. As the fleet set out to engage the human armada, there was no doubt in the minds of the alien commanders that they were about to add yet another victory to their long list of conquests. The humans would be crushed, just as all others had been, and the galaxy would once again be reminded of the Empire's unchallenged supremacy. They dismissed any notion of failure, confident that their technology and experience would carry the day. Little did they know that they were about to face something far beyond their understanding, something that would shatter their arrogance and change the course of the war. The alien fleet moved into position with the confidence of a predator closing in on its prey. They had every reason to believe this would be another effortless victory, a simple matter of overwhelming the human ships with superior firepower. The orders were given, and the alien vessels unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, expecting to see the human ships torn apart in the first volley. But instead of the expected explosions, they were met with something entirely unexpected. The human ships shimmered, their outlines blurring as the alien fire passed straight through them. It was as if the ships weren't really there, ghostly apparitions that defied the very laws of physics. The alien commanders watched in stunned silence as their attacks had no effect. They quickly ordered another volley, but the result was the same. The human ships phased in and out of reality, their forms flickering like mirages, untouched by the onslaught. The aliens had never seen anything like it. What should have been a decisive strike had instead turned into a display of futility. Confusion spread rapidly through the alien fleet. Their sensors, usually so reliable, failed to lock onto the human ships. Every attempt to target the enemy was met with frustrating failure. The ships seemed to exist on the edge of reality, slipping away whenever the aliens thought they had a clear shot. Panic began to set in as the realization dawned that they were facing something completely beyond their understanding. The once orderly ranks of the alien fleet fell into chaos as they struggled to make sense of what was happening. The human fleet, meanwhile, moved with eerie precision through the battlefield. They weaved effortlessly between the alien ships, seemingly unaffected by the chaos around them. Every maneuver was executed with perfect timing, every movement calculated to exploit the confusion of their enemies. The aliens, so used to being the hunters, found themselves outmatched and outmaneuvered. Their own firepower was useless, their technological superiority rendered meaningless against an enemy that could simply slip through their attacks. As the battle dragged on, the alien commanders grew increasingly desperate. They threw everything they had at the human ships, but nothing worked. It was as if the humans were playing with them, toying with their prey before delivering the killing blow. The alien fleet, which had entered the battle with such confidence, was now reeling from the encounter. They had never faced an enemy like this, one that could phase in and out of reality, one that they couldn't touch or hurt. The realization began to set in. They were dealing with something far more advanced than they had ever anticipated. The human ships were not just special, they were terrifyingly so. The aliens had assumed they were the apex predators of the galaxy, but now they were being shown just how wrong they were. The human fleet was equipped with technology that defied explanation, technology that turned the rules of warfare on their head. And as the alien fleet limped away from the battlefield, their confidence shattered. They understood for the first time that they were up against an enemy they couldn't hope to defeat through conventional means. The battle was over, but the war had only just begun, and the aliens knew they were in for a fight unlike any they had ever faced. The alien empire, reeling from their initial encounter with the human fleet, refused to accept defeat. Determined to reassert their dominance, they mobilized their full military might, launching a full-scale assault against the humans. Hundreds of ships, bristling with weaponry, converged on the human fleet. This time, they believed sheer numbers and overwhelming firepower would be enough to crush the humans, to obliterate these ghostly ships that had humiliated them in the first engagement. But as the alien forces closed in, the humans responded in a way that defied all expectations. The human ships began to multiply, creating ghostly duplicates of themselves across the battlefield. These spectral forms moved in perfect synchronization with the original ships, making it impossible for the alien forces to distinguish between the real and the illusory. Every time the aliens thought they had cornered a human vessel, it would split into multiple forms, each as solid and real as the next. The battlefield became a chaotic tangle of apparitions, with alien weapons firing wildly at targets that simply vanished or reappeared elsewhere. Panic spread rapidly through the alien ranks. Their commanders, desperate to regain control, tried every tactic they could think of: coordinated strikes, spread formations, mass bombardments, but nothing worked. The human ships moved as though they were phantoms, slipping through the alien formations and striking with devastating precision. The alien sensors were useless, their weapons ineffective, their tactics obsolete. The battle, which they had been so certain of winning, was turning into a slaughter. The human fleet pressed the advantage, launching a relentless series of attacks that decimated the alien forces. Entire squadrons were wiped out in moments, torn apart by phantom strikes that seemed to come from nowhere. The alien commanders, once so confident in their superiority, were now grasping at straws, their morale shattered by the sheer unpredictability of the human assault. Each passing moment deepened their despair as they realized they were fighting an enemy they couldn't even touch, let alone defeat. The humans, recognizing the psychological toll their tactics were taking, intensified their assault on the minds of their enemies. They used their ships' abilities not just to win the battle, but to sow fear and confusion among the alien crews. Ghostly images of human ships appeared where they shouldn't have been, creeping up on alien vessels and disappearing just as quickly. Communications were disrupted, false signals broadcasted to create the impression that the human fleet was far larger than it actually was. The aliens, already demoralized, began to believe they were facing a force of supernatural origin, an enemy that defied all logic and reason. As the battle dragged on, the alien soldiers' will to fight crumbled. They had been trained to face any threat, but nothing had prepared them for this. The human ships, with their ghostly duplicates and phantom strikes, seemed invincible. Panic set in as alien crews abandoned their posts, their ships drifting aimlessly through the battlefield. What had begun as a full-scale assault had devolved into chaos, with the alien fleet in total disarray, their command structure shattered, their forces on the verge of collapse. By the end of the engagement, the once proud alien fleet was nothing more than a scattered, broken remnant of its former self. The humans had not only defeated them, they had dismantled their morale, their confidence, and their will to fight. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of alien ships, the silent testimony to a battle that had gone horribly, inexplicably wrong. The alien empire, so sure of its invincibility, now faced a grim reality. They were up against a foe that was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a foe that could destroy them without ever truly being seen. With their fleet teetering on the brink of annihilation, the alien empire's leaders knew they were running out of time. Desperation gripped them as they watched their once mighty forces being torn apart by an enemy they couldn't understand, let alone defeat. In a last-ditch effort to salvage the situation, they devised a plan, one final gamble that, if successful, could turn the tide of the war. They would lure the human fleet into a trap, a carefully orchestrated ambush that would rely on overwhelming the humans with sheer numbers and brute force. It was a strategy born of desperation, but it was all they had left. The plan was simple. They would feign weakness, drawing the humans into a sector where the bulk of the alien fleet would be hidden, waiting to spring the trap. Once the humans were surrounded, the alien ships would close in from all sides, using their remaining firepower to crush the human fleet in one decisive blow. The alien commanders knew the risks, but they had no other choice. This was their last stand, their final chance to save their empire from complete destruction. As the human fleet entered the designated sector, the alien commanders held their breath. Everything hinged on perfect timing. The humans, confident after their previous victories, advanced into the heart of the trap. Then, at the critical moment, the alien fleet sprang into action. Ships appeared from every direction, converging on the human fleet with the intention of overwhelming them with sheer force. The alien leaders watched, hoping against hope that this time, the humans wouldn't be able to escape. But once again, the human ships defied all expectations. As the alien fleet moved in to close the trap, the human ships began to phase in and out of reality, slipping through the enemy formations as if they were nothing more than shadows. The alien ships fired at point-blank range, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the human vessels, striking nothing but empty space. The humans responded with deadly precision, striking from angles the aliens hadn't anticipated, their attacks cutting through the alien fleet like a knife through butter. The ambush that had been so carefully planned unraveled before the aliens' eyes. The human ships, untouchable and unstoppable, danced around their attackers, phasing in and out of existence with terrifying ease. The alien commanders, who had believed they finally had the upper hand, watched in horror as their fleet was torn apart. Every tactic they tried, every maneuver they attempted, was met with the same ghostly resistance. The humans were always one step ahead, always striking from the shadows, always untouchable. As the battle wore on, the full hopelessness of the situation became clear. The alien fleet, which had once been the pride of the Empire, was systematically destroyed. Ship after ship was wiped out, their remains scattered across the battlefield. The human fleet, still untouched, moved methodically through the carnage, eliminating the last of the alien forces with cold, calculated efficiency. The Empire's leaders, who had once been so sure of their superiority, were now forced to confront the grim reality. Their military might was in ruins, and their empire was crumbling before their eyes. The final moments of the battle were a devastating reminder of how far they had fallen. The last of the alien ships, desperate and broken, made one final attempt to flee, but there was no escape. The humans, relentless in their pursuit, hunted them down and destroyed them without mercy. The once great fleet was no more, reduced to wreckage and debris. The alien empire, which had once ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, was now nothing more than a shadow of its former self, its military power obliterated by an enemy they had never truly understood. The battle was over, and with it, the last vestiges of the Empire's dominance. The alien leaders, their fleets destroyed and their confidence shattered, were left to ponder the full extent of their defeat. They had been warned that human ships were special, but they had ignored those warnings, dismissing them as mere rumors. Now, as they faced the ruins of their once great fleet, they realized too late the truth of those words. The humans were not just special, they were invincible, and they had brought the Empire to its knees. The news of the alien empire's defeat spread rapidly throughout the galaxy, sending shockwaves through every corner of known space. The once mighty empire, feared and respected for its military prowess, was now a shadow of its former self. The fleets that had once dominated the stars were gone, reduced to wreckage and debris, scattered across a battlefield that had become a graveyard for their ambitions. The Empire's reputation, painstakingly built over centuries of conquest and domination, was shattered. Species that had once cowered before the Empire now watched in stunned silence as the full extent of the defeat became clear. Across the galaxy, the aftermath of the battle prompted deep reflection among the various civilizations. The stories of human ships, once dismissed as mere rumors or exaggerations, were now seen in a new light. The warnings that had been ignored were remembered with a growing sense of dread. The humans, it was now clear, possessed technology that was far beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. Their ships, capable of phasing through reality and creating ghostly duplicates, were not just advanced, they were on the edge of what was thought possible. The implications were profound. Humanity, once considered a minor player in the galactic arena, was now recognized as a force that could not be ignored. The other species began to reevaluate their understanding of humanity. What else might they be capable of? How far had they advanced in their short time on the galactic stage? The fear that accompanied these questions was palpable. Humanity, which had once been underestimated and overlooked, was now regarded with a mixture of awe and apprehension. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Underestimating humans was a mistake that could lead to devastating consequences. As the dust settled and the galaxy came to terms with the Empire's downfall, a new power dynamic began to emerge. Humanity's position had changed irrevocably. No longer were they the inexperienced newcomers, struggling to find their place. They had proven themselves in the most decisive way possible, and the galaxy had taken notice. The surviving leaders of the alien races, humbled by the defeat of the Empire, now understood that they had to approach humanity with caution and respect. The humans, with their mysterious and formidable technology, were now seen as equals, or perhaps even as a power to be feared. In this new reality, alliances shifted, and diplomacy took on a new tone. The galaxy's species, once confident in their own strength, now knew that there was a new player on the field, one that could challenge even the mightiest of empires. Humanity's ascension was undeniable. They had earned their place among the galaxy's great powers, not through sheer force, but through a combination of innovation, strategy, and the unique capabilities of their ships. The final understanding settled over the galaxy like a shadow. Human ships were not just special, they were a force that could neither be ignored nor defeated. The Empire had learned this too late, but the rest of the galaxy would not make the same mistake. In the new order that was taking shape, humanity stood tall, no longer a species to be underestimated, but one that would shape the future of the galaxy in ways that few could have foreseen.